what did I do, where did I go,
also I
what did
think
I eat?
formula, yeah. First case, yeah, I do agree that maybe like that way. Second time she thought like, I shouldn't be so lazy enough because health is obviously basically wealth. So she consulted a doctor. After consulting a doctor, that doctor, he did not really diagnose her by seeing a physical, all her symptoms.
I can say that.
Ma'am, but you never even told that he diagnosed. So why can't we take that he did not diagnose as such, but he gave medication missing a
See,
physical?
because it brings us to a very different line of discussion, right? Are we then saying the entire medical fraternity is like completely unethical?
No, I don't
diagnose.
Yeah. Because sometimes when we go, the most basic thing, whatever the BP is being checked, or maybe they will check the temperature. If the temperature is high, okay, then maybe you are not, maybe not. We will not talk maybe because medical science is such a huge field, established field. That's not maybe non-scientific. He gives medicines, maybe not for that real infection. That's what I'm trying to say, ma'am. Maybe she's suffering from typhoid or malaria. But the thing is, somebody told it might not be antibiotics. But antibiotics is such a medicine which is usually prescribed. Because he'll ask you all, had you had ice cream, madam, or had you been outside or something in that way? That time he will ask you, where had you been? Generalize what would have happened.
So just by telling where I had been, he'll recognize what the pathogen in my body is.
Yeah, probably she met someone.
Why not?
Why don't you come, Pooja?
Just by conversing, without conducting any tests, he'll be able to tell what pathogen has affected me.
Who agrees with her?
Ma'am, you see,
She's questioning, meaning, is there anybody else who's questioning the same?
No, I think not agree with her.
That's what I'm saying. So basically, you're also questioning her, right?
Yeah.
So who else is questioning her?
It's not like conversing. When you go to a doctor, he'll make you all feel comfortable. He'll ask you all, where have you been? What is the thing? He'll not say, okay, madam, you have 93.3, then okay, chalo. He'll not say that. He'll make you feel comfortable. He'll ask you, okay, what is your history? No doctor will never ask you that. He's not in that way. He will make you all feel comfortable. He'll ask you all, where have you been? Like what have you been here? Not like which specific place, but kind of highly polluted area, maybe include that okay, she had been in such an area.
Okay, see, I'll just tell you what she's trying to say. What she's trying to say is, by you going and saying I had Velpuri or I had ice cream, you will not be able to diagnose. However, a more relevant information could have been, for example, now there's an outbreak of Ebola virus, right?
Yeah.
A more plausible explanation could be, did you travel overseas? If so, where did you go? Which part did you go? Where were you there? Which time
But
of the
a
year were
normal
you there?
student or if a normal worker goes, I don't think he'll just fly off to overseas. He'll just ask local areas. He'll just.
No, so that's No, fair enough. So basically, we are, I think, getting into the granularities of irrelevant information here. So basically, what they are trying to say is, even the questions that the doctor would ask, you have to be scientifically driven, right? And when I say science, I don't mean a DNA, RNA level of science, but something which is more relevant to the
Scientific, he will definitely ask for the physical things also. He will take in account.
Absolutely. Let's assume that the doctor is an ethical, well-established, sincere, honest medical practitioner. Alright, let's go with that assumption. Alright, let's go with that. Okay, any other points?
That's the thing, because the basic thing is till the last she had to go because her basic immunity has been suppressed now because she has been taking so many antibiotics, so many medicines without realizing the actual cause.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah. You have a point?
If yes. So honest, we might have not given the antibiotics as first, ma'am.
So you are anyway saying it's not antibiotics, right? Fine. We are going to come back to that, which is why I said let's just quickly wind up this part of the discussion. Yeah.
Okay, it was first told that she took self-medication, that might be paracetamol, Crocin or whatever. So that, probably that just gave her a temporary effect to her immune system. That is why maybe she felt better. And when again the disease or the infection recurred, she thought of visiting the doctor, and then he gives her what we are assuming is that she took antibiotics from the doctor. So then her body, the pathogens were suppressed temporarily again by the antibiotics. And again, after 4 days when she felt better, maybe she felt better, again just the reason was antibiotics. So 4 days later, her immune system maybe got suppressed, and that is why she felt those symptoms recurring again. And maybe she was unaware of maybe some other serious diseases in her. It might be HIV/AIDS, it might be...
That's a very, very, very valid point. So, comorbid health issues. So basically there's a bigger disease that's the underlying reason for her recurrent relapses of this infection. Very, very good point. Yes.
Because HIV/AIDS shows recurring symptoms.
Right.
And when she was called to the hospital, maybe the doctor wanted to test for these diseases.
Perfect. So here we are not talking merely as a layman when we are saying, I went to Apollo Hospital, my friend went to Columbia, Asia, the facilities were good. So as students of life sciences, we have to look beyond the non-science components, right? So there is a scientific explanation. So this team thinks that if my friend probably had HIV, the blood reports should have been indicative of that, right? So maybe not so much for the facilities part of it, but because the doctor wants to ensure and rule out, hopefully that there was this comorbidity which was existing in that patient. Anybody who disagrees with this? Why? You all like her a lot, that's why. Anybody who disagrees? You all disagree? Please come, please come.
All I want to say is that.
Come here, your voice has to be. All I want to say is that.
During the second wave when you went to the doctor,
Right.
maybe one problem take the symptoms of.
So he's saying mimicry, huh?
Yeah.
That's happening? Okay. Interesting.
Maybe I'm
So why are you, these are like two different, these are parallel discussions then, right? Why are you disputing what she said? Okay, fair enough. I missed to read between the lines. Hey, you have to explain that.
Set the stage. Not all the symptoms would be shown.
Okay.
Some symptoms would be suppressed, so the doctor might assume it to be a certain problem.
Can you give me an example, you or you, of some such? Yeah.
Sometimes when the patient is having pneumonia, it can mimic the symptoms of tuberculosis.
Bang on. Excellent. Right? Yeah. So how do you think then a doctor would be able to delineate that this is going the pneumonia way or is this going the tuberculosis?
You have to rule out either one of them.
So it's by exclusion, right? Yeah. So who was the one, I don't recall, who said, the doctor just did hit and trial and just kept giving it. But I'm not saying it's wrong. Many doctors probably adopt a certain school of thought. But then for many of these kind of mimicking infections, that's the only way out, right? Because there are no conclusive lab reports which are going to tell you either ways. Yeah, that's a very valid point. Yeah. Great. Which other team is left? All done? All done? Okay. So you know what? I'm thinking, should we now stick to, because you and the gentleman suggested fungal infection, right? So that's an interesting thought. So if it is a fungal infection, what line of treatment do you think was possibly given to her? What class of drugs? Think. What class of drugs? Sorry? Antifungals, yes. But typically what class of drugs are antifungals? Think, you know what, don't worry, I'm sure you've not read this in your textbooks. But by your experience, touch wood, I'm hoping you've not had to go through this kind of illness, but by your, yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? But just a thought. So you said antibiotics, right? There's one way of treatment for bacterial infection.